Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. But I'm here to tell you there's something else.
The Netherlands.
Hi, I'm River.
And I'm Mark.
We moved here to the Netherlands just 2 years ago, and our lives have changed for the better. Not just in the ways that we expected, but also in more subtle ways due to some Dutch mindsets.
5 mindsets.
Yeah, 5 mindsets. And some of them were quite subtle. We adopted them slowly. Some showed us a mirror to ourselves and just how different our own culture that we're coming from is in comparison.
They're very subtle. They take time for you to experience them. And they've all been a positive impact on our lives here.
And Dutch viewers, as we go through these terms, if there's something we're still misunderstanding because we're still learning, or something you want to elaborate on, let us know in the comments, because we're going to go through 5 of them, and we're still looking at them with newbie eyes and trying to explain them as best we can from our our understanding at this point in our lives.
First mindset, Gezellig.
You might have heard about this already if you come from America. It's a similar concept to hygge, and of course hygge was everywhere. I think starting in 2019 in America, there was like 10 books put out about it and people talking about it in magazines. And it's it's a similar concept here in the Netherlands, Gezellig, which I think says a lot about America, that we can't define it.
Yeah, there's no real clear what to say. You have to put several words together: coziness, warmth, conviviality. Yeah, that kind of thing. And there really isn't an English equivalent to cover that.
Maybe because here they believe in consensus and they believe in community. And in America, it's more about competition. So even when you're having a good time with friends and family, you can appreciate that in America. But there's always a part of you that's even competitive, even maybe with yourself. But there's something about the US where it's tenuous and it evaporates.
There's
like
the pressure of bettering yourself or bettering your neighbor. And here it's not, that doesn't really exist. It's more like just if you're in a crowd of people, or if you're at a party or gathering with friends, it's that feeling of warmth and coziness, and it's just being able
taking
to,
it in.
Yeah, taking it in, relaxing, and not feeling you have to be in competition. And we experience that here. You can experience it in many places. A person can be gezellig, a room can be gezellig, anything that gives you that feeling.
Yeah, an event can be gezellig. It could even be gezellig at a rock concert, if you know.
Yeah.
It's when everything kind of clicks and it clicks together.
Yeah.
That is gezellig. So it's not just, being cozy with a big, blanket and a book and a cup of hot cocoa. Yes, that's cozy. Yes, that can be gezellig. But you could be in a crowded cafe with friends hanging out and having a wonderful conversation, and that also is gezellig.
Yeah, and I took it wrong for a while. I had a colleague at work have to correct me for the meaning of gezellig. I thought it meant equated to Zen, and that's wrong. It can be Zen. Zen can be part of it, but it's not just calm and cool. It's warmth. There's an added quality to gezellig.
The next one is Niksen.
Niksen Niksen.
Niksen.
Yeah.
Niksen. So niks is
nothing. Yep.
So like I have nothing. Ik heb niks. But niksen becomes a verb, and that's the act of doing nothing, really. And Niksen to me was a bit of a culture shock when I got here. So Niksen for me, we were in the Netherlands after moving here, maybe 2-3 days, and I went to a brown bar in our new town. I was sitting there and I noticed it was a really nice day, and I thought, I'll sit outside. Where this brown bar was at an intersection. So you were watching bus stops, you were watching cars go by. There was a ramp that went down to underground parking. And so there wasn't much to see except infrastructure. The outdoor area had tables, and all along the wall were 2 tops, tables for 2 people. But unlike in America where you would have, and they do this here too, you have a table with 2 chairs that are facing each other. But what I noticed about this brown bar and other brown bars since is that the tables that are against the wall of the building, they face out. So you have a table, but the two chairs are both against the wall looking at the street. They're not looking at each other.
People they just look out, they take in the environment, take in the people walking by, and that's the act of just being present.
Yeah, being present. And it's not a conscious act. It's not like, I'm going to go practice my Niksen now. It's combined with Gezellig. You're just like, I'm just going to sit and be. Which shocked me at first because my mind was always on zoom from America. So, and I kept thinking, I got to grab my phone, I got to check my emails, I got to plan my next steps, I got to look at what I just paid at a shop, I got to
And we lived in New York for a long time, and that is always, you always felt that you were on the go.
And I was envious of watching people just relax and just be present. I couldn't shut my mind off for the first few months we were here. I still felt like I had to be doing something, like writing in a book or reading a book or on my phone. I started to notice, actually I didn't start to notice, one day I just noticed I was doing Niksen. I was sitting there just looking out, and it wasn't until I paid the check and left that I realized I didn't pick my phone up. It was like I suddenly had embraced the Dutch pace, the Dutch way of life, in a way where I could finally just be present in my own life.
Yeah, and you find that in general over here, people leave these either in their bags or on the table. They don't even look at them.
Yeah.
And it's very refreshing. Yeah.
As a former restaurant server, it was amazing to go out to restaurants and see families sitting together, eating and talking. Not, I would serve tables where it'd be 4 or 5 people, 2 adults, 2, 3 kids, and every single one of them was just on their phone, not talking to each other at all. There was a few times I would see people at the table texting each other at the same table. It's like siblings texting each other, or husband and wife text while they're sitting right next to each other.
In New York.
New York. So, and Wyoming. So, here it's like people remember to be present and be present for their families. And so they're also leaving themselves open for Gezellig experiences. So,
people, it's not to be confused with laziness. It's about allowing your mind.
It's not bed rotting or anything like that.
It's allowing your mind to just be clear. And in Dutch culture, it actually is encouraged because it fosters creativity. It calms you, and you see that all the time, actually.
And I think part of it too is that in America, your boss finds you everywhere you go. I mean, I've had bosses call me when I was just a receptionist. They're calling me at 2 a.m. because they ran out of toilet paper in their house. They're telling me to check my emails throughout the day. If they call, even if I'm in a play or a movie, I have to step out to take the call or I'm in trouble because I'm supposed to always be available even though I'm not in work hours. And so that fosters a sense that you have to constantly be monitoring every aspect of your life everywhere you go. The other part is that in the Netherlands, they leave you alone in the cafes. They don't give you a time limit on your tables, so you don't have to think, I've got to cram in everything I came to this coffee shop to do. I wanted to read that chapter, I wanted to do some work, I wanted to relax. I got to do all that in the next hour and a half before they drop a check and they tell me I have to pay the bill and get out. You're also, because it's not a tip culture, you're not constantly being asked every 10 minutes. And trust me, I was a server and a bartender in New York into my 40s, so I understand why it's like that in America. It's survival. But here, they pay everyone a good wage, so they know you'll ask for the check, the bill, when you're ready. They don't have to harass you. You'll ask them when you want something. There's not constantly trying to upsell you, and then get you out. So there's an atmosphere that is conducive to Niksen, where you can just sit and nobody's going to hassle you.
And the third mindset is work-life balance.
And this plays into Niksen. Like I said, you're not being told to constantly be monitoring your professional life everywhere you go in your personal life.
Yeah, and there's a clear separation. We've noticed here in the Netherlands, people, when you leave work, first of all, the Dutch are very prompt. They're known for being punctual. They will leave on time, but once they leave work, you can't contact them. It's right away, that's and there's Dutch laws that actually protect this. You go home to your family and work is work. It's out of the picture. So that separation is actually kind of rare. You really don't have it in America. Some places you do, but people in a culture in America where people are taking work home with them all the time, you've got to be available on your phones. Here, it's not the case. I'm not saying exclusively that, There's people that work hard in every culture, every country, but it is a very clear mindset that when I leave work, I go home to my family, go with my friends, and I'm not going to think about work.
In fact, at Mark's job, he's not even able to access his work email outside of work. It's on the work server, and that's where it stays. So, he's not going to have to respond to a bunch of emails in his off time. He can't.
Right,
Period.
and I'm sure there's plenty of jobs in the Netherlands. Again, this is not exclusive, but at my workplace, it's just at work. You can access your email.
Yeah, and the people, if you get a repair done, you need a repair, whatever. There are people that will do weekend calls, but for the most part, they're like, no, don't bother me on the weekend. I'll get mad, and you can't pay me enough to give up my quality time with my family. I'm not coming. Your emergency is yours alone. You can cope until work hours.
Yeah, especially when you have young children. My boss had a young son and a newborn.
He still has them.
Yeah, he still has them. But he makes it very clear he's not to be disturbed when he leaves work. And you can leave texts. The texts are going to go unanswered until the next workday during work hours, not even before work.
Part of that too is, in the U.S., you're told that if anything happens in your personal life, it's still contingent upon your job as to whether or not that warrants taking time away from the job. There's no mandatory sick days or vacation days in America by law. It's set by the individual employer. I worked multiple jobs in offices, and only 3 of them actually gave me
Sick
time off. Yeah. There was one job I had, they would give me 3 sick days per year, unpaid. So it basically meant you won't get paid, but we won't fire you if you use 3 or less days.
Nice, huh?
Yeah. I had another job where, they gave me 3 days off for my grandmother's death, and then wanted to know immediately when I got back if I had any other sick grandparents that they needed to plan for, or possibly replace me if I had another grandparent pass away.
Yeah, again, this is a big culture of need to produce all the time in America, whereas here there is just it's about keeping people happy. People stay happy.
And healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're sick, stay home, of course. Why would you bring that into everybody else to get sick? Why would you delay your ability to heal yourself? Go home, stay home. Why? And it's going to make you less efficient on the job anyways.
Plus you get other people sick if you go into work sick, if you have that pressure on you. So over here it's very clear, and you can just experience it when you talk to people, and they kind of look at you shocked if you tell them the culture that we came from and what they did, what the practices were at jobs in America versus here. And again, I don't want to speak exclusively about America, saying no, there's sick days are rare, but in many, many cases, it depends on the employer. If it's a small,
it's up to the employer.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this constant need to be available to your boss, and there's good bosses. I've only had 2 in my life, but there's good bosses, but there's a lot of bad bosses, because for them it's all about productivity and numbers in America and competition.
That brings the stress level up too, so you're less productive because of that as well.
Yeah, whereas in the Netherlands, they know life happens, and your job is not your life. Your job is what pays your bills, and it shouldn't be all-encompassing. So another part of the work-life balance too is actually being able to use your vacation time and getting enough of it to last you through the year. But I had several companies where I had vacation time. One job I worked at for 5 years and never took 1 vacation day because I was told that the expectation was not to use the vacation day, but to cash it in at the end of the year. So after 5 years, I was burnt out and wanted a vacation, and they were shocked.
Yeah.
They were like, what? No, you want to go away for 2 weeks? I did get the vacation approved. I did take the vacation. And when I came back, they made it very, very clear that it made a lot of difficulties for them. And they would hope that I would not participate in my vacation days in the future.
Whereas over here, people will take a month off. If you get a month vacation, in my workplace, you'll see faces disappear for a month and you wonder where they went. Well, they're on holiday. And when they come back, they just jump back into the fray of things and everything is fine. Everybody has that look on their face like they're very well rested. And
also the 8% holiday pay, which means you don't really have to save for your vacations. They offer you what is equivalent to 8% of your income to take a holiday. It's that serious. It's like, take the holiday here. So, you don't have to take it out of your living expenses. You get this holiday bonus, which is terrific because, like, in America, the last job we had was very good about vacation days. They gave them to us willingly, but we didn't have the money to take trips often. So we would just do staycations, just stay at home and just rest from not having to go to work, even though I still answered emails while I was on vacation.
Yeah, and at my workplace, people always talk about the trips they're going to be taking. They're not staying at home.
Another Dutch mindset we love is planning ahead. And this one can be difficult for Americans depending on where you live. For us, it was a little easier because we came from New York City. So there, people do tend to plan ahead. Your neighbors and friends don't knock on your door.
Yeah, it's not exclusive to the Netherlands, but it is ingrained in them, really.
Yeah. And rest of America, where I've lived, people will just show up at your house.
Yeah.
Hi.
Don't do that here.
Yeah, don't do that here. Yeah, and planning ahead, Americans, they're not used to waiting for things. They're not used to planning when to go to the grocery store because the grocery store is closing at 8, that the mom and pop shop closes at 5. They're used to these 24-hour superstores everywhere where they can get anything at any time, and it kind of adversely affects your life. You spend more time taking trips that you don't need to take throughout the week because you're not planning ahead so much.
And that ties into what we had just talked about, was the work-life balance. It's not unusual for stores to close at 5 o'clock. And on the weekends, bars, restaurants to close early. And if you're not aware of it, you're going to be very disappointed. So it's a Dutch mindset, both social interaction as well as professional. When you go to work, planning ahead as well, putting things in calendars, really important.
Another thing is a lot of Dutch employers pay once a month, so you also plan ahead for your expenses and your contingencies for the month. A lot of American employers, they'll pay weekly or bi-weekly or bi-monthly. And then the other thing that we wanted to cover is the one that I think that the Dutch get a bad rap for, and for me it's the biggest advantage to living here, and that's Dutch directness. I love Dutch directness.
It's very direct, and I guess part of the philosophy is they don't like to waste time. So if there's a lot of small talk or whatever and you're beating around the bush about something, it wastes time. So the Dutch come right out and they tell you what they think, and that's I think is a great quality.
We first experienced it our first trip to the Netherlands, and so we were coming to visit them for the first time and stay overnight. At the end of the dinner, they announced, right, well, that's the end of dinner. We now want to be alone to watch TV and unwind before we go to bed. So, good night.
Get out.
And we went up to our room, and I was like, did we offend them? Did we say something that made them kind of shut down the dinner party? But then when we figured out, no, it's just Dutch directness. They're letting us know what their needs are. They're letting us know that the time they allotted, again, planning ahead, the time they allotted for this meal is not a bottomless pit of time. It's like in America, sometimes it gets awkward at dinners with friends, etc., because no one knows when to walk away because no one wants to offend the other person.
And there's nothing rude about it.
No.
Or anything. It's just, it's time to go. And that's basically it. They weren't annoyed when they said this, but it kind of, it took us by surprise. So we kind of didn't know how to react to that because we weren't used to people saying that. In America, we'd go to parties and people would kind of linger and the hosts would be awkwardly looking at the clock and wondering when people are going to leave. None of that here.
Yeah, and once we moved here, it got even better for me because I have autism. And so I found that in the Netherlands, I operate much better than I do in America. In the US, things are hidden a lot more. Americans are bold, brash, loud. Yes, we are. We can be very rude. We can also be very nice, maybe a little too nice, asking constantly how you are, then not really waiting for the answer. But I, as an autistic person, struggled with social cues because people don't necessarily tell you what they're feeling and thinking. So when we would go to parties or meet with our friends, I'd always quiz him afterwards. Was I okay? Did I say anything I need to apologize for later? Did I not pick up something? Were they trying to leave? and I didn't notice? Did they want to change the subject and I didn't notice? And it just always put me on edge. It gave me more social anxiety and anticipation and fear going into a social setting than I have here. I don't have it at all here. I know they're going to tell me when it's time to wrap up. They're going to tell me if they're annoyed with something I said. And I don't have to worry if I miss a social cue. And it is so refreshing. So, the Netherlands, autistic friendly.
The 5 mindsets that we're discovering, we're all the time now. We kind of point it out to each other, and we can pick it up immediately, these 5 mindsets, when we come across them.
And I think that if I were to visit America, having any one of those not be present in my life anymore, my life would feel less for it.
Yeah.
My life experience would feel less for it.
Yeah, and to add to that, when I've visited home, America, a couple of times to visit my family and friends, when I go to America, I can actually see the differences between the attitudes here, the mindsets, and the mindset in America.
If you're an American watching this, are any of these surprising to you or that you would think you would find difficult? If you're Dutch, let us know what we got wrong. I'm sure you will. Dutch directness, I love it. And also, what might have surprised you? Like, I didn't realize that aspect of my life, which we just take for granted, would be such a big deal. So whatever, put it in your own words, tell us what you think. Yeah, we're just glad you're joining us for another Culture Shock Talk, so thanks.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you again soon.